When you enter a Big Ten season, you never know what you're going to get, right? It's like a box of chocolates, okay? And, coming into this season, we knew, okay, Michigan's probably going to be good. Ohio State's probably going to be good. And beginning of the season, I said, yeah, 4, maybe 5 teams could win the Big Ten West. Here were some surprises that I looked at in the Big Ten. I think the first thing you got to talk about when you talk about surprises is Illinois. Okay, you look at last year. This last year was a team that beat Penn State in Happy Valley. I don't think them going 8-4 is necessarily a surprise. It's just how much they improved as a football team that I think is a surprise to me. Okay, I thought Illinois would improve, but I looked at their schedule and I'm like, man, I just don't see it. I just don't see them breaking through and contending for a West Division championship. But when I looked at Illinois coming into this season, the big question for me and the big key for me was the quarterback position. Tommy DeVito really stepped up and really became a big part of this team because you kind of look at the past of last year with Illinois. They had Chase Brown, no question about it. Chase Brown was doing great. And this year he was great as well, but it was the quarterback that really opened up the offense. They were able to throw the football down the field a little bit more because they got good wide receivers. I think we learned that this year. And then, of course, the defense took a gigantic step forward. And this is an Illinois team that's going to be good, I think, for a good amount of time. I don't know if they're going to be 9 wins. I don't think they're going to be 10 wins. But sitting right there at 8-4, I would have said that was a surprise coming into the season. I thought they'd be right around bowl eligibility, 5 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins, kind of something in that category. But 8-4, contending for the Big Ten West Championship late in the season, I think that was a surprise for Illinois. Was Nebraska continuing to fail a surprise? Now looking back on it in hindsight, it doesn't surprise anybody, right? Scott Frost gonna Scott Frost, okay? But what they did in the transfer portal, right? Bringing in all these guys, revitalizing the coaching staff with Mark Whipple, a guy that coached a Heisman finalist, Mickey Joseph, we know what he did and we know what he has done since then this season. All of the pieces seem to have come together, but the leadership was lacking. And I think the reason why this maybe isn't a surprise to some people, I think it's a little bit of a surprise to me. Look, I wasn't going to sit here and say Nebraska was going to win the Big Ten West because I don't think they were going to in August. But I sure as hell thought they'd be better than 3-9 or 4-8. I'll tell you that much. I thought Nebraska was going to make a bowl game, but man, I did not expect them to have a season like that. I think that's what I'm referring to with the surprise. Okay, like I said, in hindsight, it doesn't seem that surprising because we know what we now know with Scott Frost. But maybe brighter times are on the horizon for the University of Nebraska. But them failing the way they did, considering the talent that they had coming back and coming in, I think maybe is a little bit of a surprise for fans at Nebraska. What about the demise at Michigan State? Okay, 11 wins a year ago. I did not expect them to take a dip down and not be a bowl eligible team. Okay, when you look at Michigan State, I really thought the combination of Jarek Broussard and Jalen Berger would combine for numbers around what Kenneth Walker did as one person. I've been a little bit disappointed, I guess, in Jarek Broussard. I really thought he'd be better. This Michigan State run game has gotten better as the season has gone on. I don't think there's any question about that. But when I look at Michigan State, I really thought they'd be better. I still thought Peyton Thorne was going to be fine. I think he got better later in the season, but for the most of the season, I don't think he really got any better at the quarterback position. I thought Jaden Reed and these receivers, that were when their backs were really against the wall and they really had to win to make bowl games, that's when they decided to turn it on. But for the most part, this Michigan State team was kind of a surprise and not in a good way. And let's finish things up with Purdue winning the Big Ten West. I guess it's not a huge surprise that Purdue specifically won the Big Ten West. I thought they'd be a solid team coming into the season. I think a surprise for the Boilermakers was the emergence of Charlie Jones and just how good Charlie Jones was, especially early in the season. You know, he was kind of in a line of those great Purdue wide receivers, David Bell, Rondale Moore, those types of guys. And maybe there's another receiver on that Iowa team, Keegan Johnson, that wants to transfer to Purdue and sees what happened if he transfers to West Lafayette. See if he can put up the type of numbers that Charlie Jones did. But I think the surprise was a variety of things with Purdue, because there was times where they looked to be dead in the water and then they kept on fighting back. I don't know if it's much of a surprise that Purdue made the Big Ten championship game. I think the surprise was just how the Big Ten West kind of sorted out in general. Right? There were times when early in the season, right after they beat Michigan State, yep, Minnesota's the Big Ten West champion, right? And then they fall off the wagon. And then Illinois, we thought, yep, they're going to do it. They're going to beat Michigan State. They're going to beat Purdue, and they might lose to Michigan, but they're going to go to the Big Ten championship game. And then they fall off the wagon. And maybe the inconsistency, the surprise, maybe that wasn't a surprise with Purdue going to the Big Ten championship game as Big Ten West champions. It was a hell of a year. And it's always fun, but you never really can predict these surprises, can you?